And we're live. Look at that. Look who's here with me. It's Danny Codella. How are you, Danny?
I'm doing great. I'm so thrilled to chat with you. I've been missing the Digital Summit events. They're my favorite.
Well, we miss seeing everybody's faces. We've been rocking and rolling with the virtual events, which we got another one coming up here next week. But happy to have you here in the Marketing Spotlight. And before we get started, I want to introduce Danny and give a little bit of bio here for everyone who's not familiar with who he is and his awesomeness. Danny Codella is a data evangelist with Sigma. They are a startup that helps enterprises harness the power of data and analytics. And we'll get more into that, what that means here in a little bit.
All right.
He helps organizations across industries improve how they use marketing data and psychology to drive business outcomes. His writing on organizational psychology and cognitive bias is included in the curriculum of several of the world's most prestigious educational institutions, including Stanford and Mount Royal University in Canada. His work, having been recognized, has led to speaking engagements, including our own digital summits, where he's often one of our top-rated speakers. So we're happy to have you here, Danny.
I'm thrilled to be here.
So tell us more about your role at Sigma and more about Sigma Computing.
Sure. Sigma is the only analytics and BI tool that's purpose-built for the cloud. So companies are using cloud data warehouses to store their data, and Sigma connects directly to that. And the cool thing is that previously you needed, SQL knowledge, coding knowledge to explore, analyze, process that information, that data. But Sigma's got a very familiar spreadsheet interface. So if you know Excel, you can use Sigma and you can analyze and explore your data without the help of a BI team. So really cool product, super stoked to be with the team. And I'm a digital evangelist, our data evangelist there. So, writing a lot of thought leadership pieces, webinars, a lot of speaking events, prior to the whole pandemic. But yeah, just raising awareness about the product and how powerful it can be to surface your own data insights.
What a fun role. I know you're having a good time with it. And when someone says business intelligence tool, I mean, what does that mean exactly? A business intelligence tool, how would you describe it?
We live in a very uncertain, fast-changing world, and making data-driven decisions is the best way to make decisions these days. Things change so fast. And so companies have gotten really good at collecting data, not as good, harnessing that data to surface insights and kind of plan the way forward. There's a saying that we kind of hear in our industry where, data can be either a rear view mirror or headlights, lighting your way forward. And so that's what we try to do, is we try to make it easy for everyone in the organization to be able to explore, analyze data, surface insights, and use it to make better decisions. Yeah,
but that's an interesting analogy, because you need both to drive, right? So it's important to acknowledge and see where you've been, but you also need the roadmap of where you're going.
Yeah, but this things are changing so fast that there's less and less value looking behind, because a lot of patterns and stuff just don't carry over into the future anymore. And I thought this was super interesting. The United States military actually coined a acronym to describe the era that we live in, and it's VUCA. Now that I've mentioned it, you'll see it everywhere. But
it's not FUBAR?
No, not FUBAR. VUCA, it stands for volatility, uncertainty, complexity, and ambiguity. And that's how they characterize our times, right? Yeah. And so, a lot of things that worked in the past no longer work. To really move forward and make the best decisions the fastest, you really need to be able to analyze the data as close to real time as possible, and then use those insights to make the best decisions.
Yeah, and what does that mean for some of the businesses that you work with, as far as you're talking about data and looking forward and real time analytics? So tell us about some of the clients that you have and where you're seeing this put into use in real life.
Yeah, I mean, we have so many great customers. If you go to sigmacomputing.com and look at our customers page, there's all sorts of great organizations like Teachable, Fictive, Payload, Phil's Coffee. And so these organizations are collecting all of their data in one place in the cloud, in these cloud data platforms. And then they're using Sigma to draw rapid insights. And so, for a retailer, that might be, seeing trends so that they can, retail merchandisers can change in-store displays or product recommendation engines on their site to recommend the best products to different groups of people that are visiting their site, their customers. If it's a logistics company or an inventory supply chain, getting a better sense of where product is at any one time, forecasting where there's going to be a need so that they can anticipate that. There's all sorts of uses. So, fintech companies, retailers, logistics companies, marketing companies, we serve everyone.
That's cool. And so would you say most of the clients you have or most of the prospects, do they tend to fall in more marketing roles or IT?
That's what's great about Sigma is we've opened up data exploration to everyone. And we kind of refer to it as there was a data language barrier before where you needed to know SQL, you needed to know these advanced coding languages to get any sense of it. Otherwise, you have to rely on your BI team. And they're busy with ad hoc reports, and that can take weeks. And data expires. It actually loses value over time. So you want to get those insights as fast as possible. And because it's just a powerful spreadsheet interface, those spreadsheet formulas that we all know and use every day, you can begin to do a lot of that analysis on your own. And so we see marketers, we see salespeople, operations folks, finance folks. They're all in the tool. It's really amazing.
So does it make sense for organizations to start working with you guys before or after they've sort of kind of cleaned up and normalized a lot of their data? I mean, is that a service you guys provide as well?
We don't, but we certainly do help you get set up. Obviously the entry is going to be, are you using a cloud data warehouse or a cloud data platform? Snowflake, Redshift, those types of things. Is your data in the cloud? Yeah. And if it is, you can connect to Sigma in moments. It's really amazing.
So the steps would be find out what you're going to do with your data, have that cleaned up, have it in the cloud, and then Sigma layers on top as the visual piece of it.
Yeah, it's really awesome because Sigma doesn't store your data. The data is never, right. It's in your cloud data warehouse. So you don't have to worry about security. You don't have to worry about, data extracts as it being downloaded on laptops and stuff like that. It stays in the cloud. So once it's in your cloud data platform, you're ready to go with Sigma.
That's great. Switch gears real quick. So your bio mentions one of your most viewed articles. For those of you watching, Danny does a lot of writing. He's a content is his background, PR. He's one of our top speakers at Digital Summit, and we'll talk about your session you've done with us. But one of your articles that you published that you said is one of the most viewed was Business Intelligence Doesn't Need More AI. It needs more humans. Can you tell us about that? What's the gist of that one?
Yeah, that one was a little controversial because in our space, there's a lot of attention on AI. A lot of people, they worry, is AI going to take over and make all our decisions for us? And we really believe in the power of people. And there's so many instances, and this past year has only proved that things are unpredictable. I mean, I was reading an article the other day that said this whole thing that happened with Reddit and GameStop stocks and stuff, it was like statistically impossible, but it happened, right? And so we believe in the power of humans and human curiosity. And so that piece was all about how, the future of data and analytics is not in AI. It's in getting more humans involved, more human eyes on things, because, we're nuanced creatures. We can perceive things that are, that don't always make sense, but there's nuance to everything, and human curiosity is powerful. And there's a common misconception that data in and of itself is the answer. Data is signal to now steer our powerful, brilliant human curiosity towards, and that's where you really make breakthroughs and come up with insights and solve problems.
Yeah. I mean, someone has to interpret what the data or what the signals are telling you. Exactly. Yeah, it's hard to remove that element of it. I mean, there's some things you can do with automation, but you really need someone when you're talking about interpreting data. Cool. And so let's get into your session you've done with Digital Summit. Been a popular topic. There's one of the more popular blog posts I believe you had when you were at Reich. Psych triggers. Let's talk about. There's 7 of them, I believe.
There's 7 that I brought out. I mean, there's definitely more that can be talked about. But when I got into my career in marketing, there was a couple ways I could have gone. I could have invested in technical skills, which are very easy to put on a resume, very easily understood. The value is understood easily. Or you can invest in the harder to define skills like human nature and psychology and things, storytelling, things like that. And so I purposely invested in those, those other types of skills that were a little harder to have early stage career. You really prove you have knowledge of that over time with your portfolio.
Mm-hmm.
But that type of knowledge decays the slowest. Like technical skills decays very fast. Knowledge of human nature and stuff like that decays very slowly. And so I found that psychological triggers, really understanding, what motivates people, what they respond to, how they interpret things, that fuels everything that we do in marketing. And so my session was kind of highlighting the 7 that I thought were the most powerful and kind of the easiest to teach. And so, I've had the fortune of being able to share that presentation across the country, and audiences seem to really respond to it. And I think it's because there's so much information that's immediately actionable. I mean, you can attend that session and right away implement some of those, at least I hope so, implement some of those things in anything that you're doing in marketing.
Yeah, I agree. And with our upcoming conference we're having this month, specifically on content and social. So we have thematic with our virtual conference this year. So we have a theme. So the one for February is on content and social. And so a couple of the triggers I thought we could dive into a little bit here is the first one is visual. Mm-hmm. So what is the visual psych trigger? I know you have it memorized.
We are very visual creatures. I mean, most of our brains is dedicated, more than 50%, dedicated solely to the processing of visual information. And, it's a survival mechanism, right? If things don't look right, that's a warning signal for us. We can avoid danger. And sometimes as marketers, we're in such a rush to get something out, or, many of us are writers. We're not necessarily designers. And so there's some little details that may not be right, but any visual discrepancy or inconsistency chips away at trust. And if you don't have trust, you've lost your chance to connect with people. And so one example I highlighted in my presentation is, back at my last company, we changed our logo. And so in our email signatures, half of the company was using the old logo, still half of the company was using the new one. And you think something like that doesn't matter. That's a small detail. But if, a prospect is getting emails that, half have the old logo, half have the new logo. I mean, if things don't look right in an email, there's so many scams going on that we delete them, right? Like I get fake emails from Amazon and stuff all the time. So if anything looks a little off, I don't even read it. So you could see how, 2 different logos could be, potentially losing deals and opportunities for us.
Yeah, cool story. Social effect.
Particular social, like a social proof, we look to other humans as, validation for actions, or if we're uncertain, if we're in a new environment or have a new challenge before us, we kind of look at each other to see, is this okay? How should I behave? And so, the more that you can convey to people that are viewing your site or using your product that like, this is what most people are doing and using, and this is cool, the better. And that's why, so many great websites for like consumer products have great imagery of people using the product and having fun and happy, because, unbeknownst to most people that are viewing that website, that's sending, signals to our brain that, okay, I can trust this. Like other humans enjoy this. This is making them happy. I need to be a part of this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I worked on a consumer products brand, and I can tell you the feedback that you would get when we would test certain imagery or artwork or website pages was, I don't see any people. I need to see people. Yeah. So you're right. That's then it's always good to get feedback on your consumers or your customers. One more, serial positioning.
I love this one. Serial positioning. It's all about, the sequence in which we encounter information really matters. And so the University of Indiana, they did a test about, retention and comprehension of information. And they found out that the things that we hear first, we tend to remember the longest, because our brains take that and we store that in our long-term memory. Usually things that are in the beginning of a sequence tend to influence what else is in the sequence, whereas things that we hear last, we tend to store in our short-term memory. And you might have heard that we can store about 7 things in our short-term memory. So that's pretty much true. Things in the middle, we don't remember. And so there's so many applications of this trigger. I mean, it could be, putting the most important information at the beginning of an article or something like that, or an email. It could even be, if we're negotiating for ad spots in a podcast or a television show, like negotiating to have your ad first or last. Even, speaking at an event, if you can speak at the beginning of an event or at the end of an event, you can have a more memorable session. So that's one that I think is probably one of the more underutilized one, honestly. Putting the most important information in the beginning, or even better, at the beginning and at the end.
And I know you used to do email marketing. I don't know how much you're still involved, but people like lists.
They do.
Lists work.
Scannable, easy to grok.
But what you're saying, though, is if I'm at a restaurant and a waiter or waitress is taking the order, you want to be either the first to order or the last, because there's a good chance you're going to forget what you said.
That's true. Yeah, I don't know. I think if you want your order right, I'd like to be first or last.
First or last. And then I found out during your presentation, halitosis was a made-up word.
I know. That blew my mind when I found that out. But, even everyone knows what that means. Halitosis, bad breath. And,
bad breath.
Dentists, they use that. It's become part of the, dental vernacular there. But that was a made-up word. Listerine made it up to come up with a problem that their product solved, right? So they took halitus, which means breathe or breath in Latin, and then osis, medical suffix, and made this new disease, this new medical condition. And they've used it so consistently over decades of time that now people, even in the dental industry, that's a common term.
Yeah, it brings back bad memories. When that commercial was on when I was a kid, my brother would call me Hal. He's not very nice. So, hey, I wanted to get into a couple other things. How's the pandemic treating you? You're working from home? Like, what's your jam right now?
Yeah, fortunately I got to work mostly remote prior to the pandemic. I only went into our office in San Francisco 1 day a week, so not a huge change. But my wife and I are kind of early on. I'd say in November of 2019, we were seeing video that was coming out of China and stuff of people getting so sick, but over here at the time, we didn't know much about it. We were kind of hearing it wasn't a serious thing, but we just had a feeling that it was going to be more serious. And so we were living downtown in a major city. We ended up buying a farmhouse on 1.5 acres in the mountains. So that's where I'm at now. I love it. It's beautiful. Low noise, low pollution. But the pandemic has been hard on all of us. I miss my family. My mom is ill, so I can't see her. She's got a compromised immune system, and so that takes a heavy toll.
It does.
But I treasure my true connections. I try to call people more than I would have before. Video chat. We need to stay connected.
I agree. And is that your big focus for 21? Making sure you stay more connected? Or has that been carrying over from last year? You already
it's carrying over. I'm not the best at it, but the older I get, the more I realize that it's all about not the number of connections or friends you have, but the quality of those connections. And really, you never know when you can lose someone. You never know. This year has taught us, this past year, how unpredictable things are, and so really treasure those people in your life who you love.
Yeah. And how's business doing for you at Sigma? You guys good?
Sigma is amazing. Before I joined the team, I was happy in my role prior to that. I was leading a content team of 9 people, incredibly talented people. I love them very dearly. But the Sigma opportunity came around, and I always have 3 criteria. One, are they attempting to solve a big, complex, hairy problem? I love that. 2, what's the team like? Are they motivated? Do they have integrity? Are they good people? And 3, am I going to learn something? I've always those have been my 3 major criteria when choosing any role, and Sigma more than matches all of those things. So it's been great.
That's good. And I'm glad you landed in a good spot. It's important to feel, it's not only satisfied at your work, but you spend some time with the people there and the things that you do. You got to enjoy it, and you got to enjoy the people you work with. So happy for you. That's great.
Thank you.
I do know that wanted to get into another topic here, because I know there might be some people out there that we could share this with that are facing, job loss right now and looking for work. It's happened to both of us. You had a blog post about that at your time at Reich. I wanted to touch on that a little bit. And was writing about that, did you feel that was therapeutic?
Absolutely. So if anyone wants to read the post, it's on my Medium page. It's Medium, Mr. Codella. And also, if anyone is out there, unemployed right now and needs help, message me on Twitter or something. I'm Mr. Codella on Twitter. I had worked at this design agency. I was leading marketing there. And, I had a good relationship with the owner. I was doing good work. I was very busy. And then just the rug was pulled out from under me. And me and almost half the company were laid off. And I had survived layoffs at previous companies before. So I felt a little, I don't know, not invincible, but thought it would never happen to me. And so it took me by surprise. And I was very depressed. But I kind of, on the way home, driving home from, my box full of belongings is in the passenger seat. I'm headed home. I went straight to the library, and a bunch of my former coworkers went out drinking, and I went to the library and I checked out all these books, and I was like, you know what? This is an opportunity. I'm going to seize this. And so I just stayed. I was more busy unemployed than I am employed now. Like I was studying, I was reading, I was getting up early every day. I was, arranging coffee chats with people, and I never got out of the routine, and stayed busy. So yeah, writing about it certainly helped. I wrote every day. It's very difficult. My heart goes out to anyone who's struggling right now. But stay busy. Don't lose your momentum. Learn and come back better than you were before with more skills. It can be an opportunity for you.
Yeah, that's great advice. I know I reached out to several people when it happened to me, and made sure I stayed busy, whether it was, grinding and looking for a job, meeting people, networking, meeting people for coffee. I took more time to read, same thing. Said,
Yes.
You know what? I'm going to use this opportunity to invest in myself a little bit. Went back and learned Google Analytics.
Love it.
And some things around there where I'm like, you know what? I'm going to just brush up some things on the resume. But it's that emotional toll that I think most people don't get, right? You might joke and be like, oh, hey, you're like semi-retired now and things, but it's not fun. It's not fun. That grind of wondering where you're going to land, when you're going to land, the emotional toll it took on my family. So that would be my second advice to people is be prepared and take care of that yourself emotionally, because when it hits you, it hits you. And I think taking care of yourself, eating right, staying fit, going to the gym or go for walks, whatever your jam is there. You gotta continue to do those things.
Yeah, that is so true. The hardest part of it, I was okay, but then I got in my car and I just started bawling because I was scared to tell my wife. I just felt like I was going to let her down, but obviously she was so supportive, and all of my best friends took me to the beach. They made me get out of the house. I didn't want to get out of the house. I wanted to mope and stay inside. They brought me to the beach, and I even included a photo on that post. I started writing that post about what to do when you're laid off, and they pulled me from my shell. And I feel very fortunate to have friends like that. Not everybody does, and if you don't, just you have to get dressed, you have to get out, you have to stay moving, you have to keep busy. You can't allow yourself to just self-destruct. And so it sounds like you did the same thing of just build new skills, take advantage of that time to learn, and you will find something, and it will be better. Yep,
great advice. So anyone that's out there, hang in there. And you can reach out to me as well. I'm on LinkedIn. I'm on Twitter. Happy to help anyone on Twitter. If you see someone in my connections, or you just want to, maybe you need someone to talk to, and you want to vent, someone who's been through it, I'm willing to take that on. So.
Love it.
Danny, this is great. Mr. Pickles doing all right?
Yes. So for those of you who don't know, I share photos of him in my presentations. Mr. Pickles is my little 4-pound Yorkie. He's totally spoiled, but he's been through a lot. He had to have a liver surgery and stuff, but he's doing good, and he's thriving in the country. We have to keep a good eye on him, though, because he's so small that like a hawk could come or something and take him. So we got to watch him. But he loves running around, and he's happier than ever. So he's a big source of joy in our life.
Well, I have a little 4-legged small dog, a Shih Tzu, who's been staring out the window and wondering when all this white stuff is going to go away.
Oh no,
he doesn't like it.
Yeah, we bought snow boots for Mr. Pickles, but he doesn't like to wear them. He flicks them off. So
I'll bet. All right, this was a pleasure. It was good to catch you up. Thanks everybody for joining, and we hope to see you at one of our digital summits soon.
Yeah, I love this. Thank you so much, Kip, and for everyone out there. Yeah, get in touch, and I can't wait to see you all in person again.
Great.